Okay, so I'll just answer the questions that you post here. This might be useful as well for the others or also going through this asynchronously. Bruno asked if there's going to be like basic knowledge management, what you call this, practices in this rBook, and he gave the example of the lessons learned document. And yeah, thank you so much for that, Bruno. I think that's a very important point. And yeah, I think this could be a different chapter since it's a separate tool. I mean, I'll just maybe make a chapter on closing, how to close a project. And one of the tools there, or one of the processes there, is the lessons learned document, which also reminds me of the issue list. I was planning to include that in the communications plan, but maybe there could be another chapter. So some chapters could be short, some chapters could be larger. So the issue list is a pretty quick, short chapter, I imagine, but a very useful tool. This was a question posted in what you call this in Slack. Let me just minimize this. Whether there will be templates and placeholders. So yes, I will be presenting um, templates and also how to structure your project management data. That's basically it. Um, okay, and then now let me go through the what you call this the chapters, the first four chapters. Yeah. So if you have purchased the book, you could see this table of contents, and here um, these are well, essentially this is an experiment in what you call this working with the garage door open. So my entire garage is open to you guys, and you could see the graphs here. You could see the things I discarded, the tweets, the tweets I'm drafting, and then so this is an experiment. We'll see what happens. I'd love to get your feedback as well on like parts of the our book which resonate with you. That's great feedback for me as I'm writing this. Which parts are important and which parts are also boring or unclear. So for me to update that. So here's some ways to make use of this graph. My suggested ways. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. This is an experiment. I'm not sure if anyone else is doing this. Um, so we'll see. So maybe now I'll be going through the first four chapters. The other chapters are already have drafts, and my drafts are normally Twitter threads. So that's what I base these chapters on. The conversations there are helpful, and the reactions people are also helpful in creating the drafts. So now let me go through the first four chapters. So the first chapter is really just a um, trying to convince the reader why this is worthwhile, why this is worth going through. So this is my personal, what you call this, experience of the usefulness of project management. It's essentially a way of bringing ideas to reality in a systematic way. That's how I look at it. So to break it down into different aspects, and it's like this way of breaking it down is like tried and tested by many people who do this for a living. So that's really the difference between when I was like doing projects before knowing this and now how I do this, is that I have this way of breaking the project and also tools for doing the work, the project management work for each of those um, aspects of project management. So this is the main message here. And also, like, why is this useful? Why is this worth investing in this skill? This is, if you do projects, um, this is one right way to do it. I imagine there are many ways of doing project management. So this is one way, systematic way of doing projects. Also, if this helped me become less stressed, I have more time to think about other things. But if you want, you could just make use of the time to bring more projects to reality. And so that's basically the point of this what you call this chapter. And then, so these questions. So again, these are things I'm experimenting on, but I have used this in trainings in the past, and also I found these helpful to make when I try to when I'm going into a certain topic. These questions help me make the topic more meaningful. Therefore, it's easier for me to learn them. So that's basically the point here. So may I ask if you guys found these questions helpful? Yeah, yeah, Bruno, that would be a good
Yeah.
idea. Just copy paste.
So, Khalil, for me, I think as a concept, they are good. But I would wait to see how much of added times would be required for my project. So, if I were to do them religiously, then they would, I mean, so like the projects are at different stages, right? So, do I start them in the middle of the project or should I wait for the next project? And what would be the value add if I answer these questions for my ongoing projects? Those were my questions. Yeah.
Mhm. So so for these questions are for this particular learning experience, and so the idea there, this is like would motivate us to learn more in terms of like using the tools. Um, and when we use this for your real projects, we would um, make we would make use of the minimum number of tools that would make sense for the project, because as like many things in life, this is like a trade-off between thoroughness and also like the time you spend in the project. So but that knowledge, that way of what you call this, the ability to know that, like what tools to use, is really a matter of experience of using these tools. So my suggestion is, for this particular for learning this, like overmanage one project. So select a project right now that you will use all the tools on, and that could be the learning experience. Did that answer your question, Ashish?
Yes, Khalil. Thank you.
Cool. Beruz asks in the chat, do we enter answers with our names as tags? Um, yeah, so right now this is just a experiment, so I don't know yet, because like the idea initially was like people would export, or people would import the JSON file, and they would answer in their own graph. So this one, um, so I would just clean it up. Whatever happens here, let's experiment. Um, yeah, let's experiment with this and see what happens. Anyway, we could always clean up the final rBook, and then the automated backup just was released. So I'll be backing this up. So don't worry about messing up the rBook. We clean it up. Um, so the first project to overmanage, yeah, maybe most of these tools are uh, a lot of what we're gonna do is actually the project planning stage. So this will run for around 12 weeks. So maybe a project that could already be implemented for 12 weeks would be ideal. But even if I mean, longer term projects could also be useful. Just because like a lot of what we're going to be using this for is project planning. Yeah. So side projects. So again, we'll see what happens. It's like this is the first time I'm doing this. But when I was doing this as like a face-to-face training, it was like 3 days, and they were using actual projects. So it was really just project planning, rather than project execution. And the execution discussion would really just be theoretical. But in the case of like doing this 12 weeks, so we'll see. Maybe selecting a side project, a small project, would be more beneficial. So that, we can discuss with the team, with the group, with the cohort, like your experience of actually using it for an actual project, and we can share experiences. Beruz asked, "Are you interested in collecting the answer to the participants?" Um, yeah, that would be interesting. More than the answers themselves, it's really like how you find whether you find the questions helpful. So there's like a page here in this graph where like this could be like the community page. So it's just like right here, um, and this wouldn't be. This is, I guess, the easiest way to not have to find all the blocks, extra blocks from other people in the rBook itself. Or you could create your own page. The page which I will export as rBook are the ones here in the table of contents. So that should be, these ones are the ones I need to clean up and will be the final product. But the rest of the graph, feel free to write on them. Again, this is like a garage, my working space, and but I don't know yet how to what you call this, keep track of all the changes. So I don't know if like somebody writes something in one page. I don't know if I could actually find it out. Yeah. Yeah. So if I don't know, maybe we could set up a tag for everyone's answers. Um, that could be, I could bring them in one page. Yeah, do it. Yeah, let's use community. Let me um, let me write that down in this page with the blocks. Cool. Thank you, Bruno. Cool. Any other questions?
Um, Khalil, I have another question, but not for today, basically on the way forward.
Mhm.
So, as we proceed into the exercise, would you prefer that I pick up an actual project and take it through with you through different steps?
Yes, I think actual projects would be best. Although, let's take a look at the second chapter. Um, like there are projects which are appropriate for these tools, and they are
Yeah,
projects which require a lot of coordination of a lot of different types of work, versus like like a a project which requires deep work, like writing a book or programming, by yourself. I mean, that's like a more of a craft rather than a project that requires these tools. Um, so yeah, I think for the purpose of learning, I think an actual project is best, and it also is more meaningful for you. Meaning, this the time you spend in actually using these tools would be for an actual project that you care about. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent way for me to also apply what I learned. And I will think about, because I'm working on more than one projects at a time. So I will think about which one. Writing a book is not a bad suggestion at all, because I'm thinking about getting something started. So if I can use the program management, the project management framework, I think it'll be good. It'll bring some discipline. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So just to clarify, Ashish, I think writing a book is not a good project to use for this exercise because writing a book, in my experience, is really doing one work, consistently. So the tools are more appropriate for things which require a lot of coordination. Like for instance, you run an event, or when you execute a new business process in your company, or implement a new piece of software to your startup or something like that. So those are the things which would be appropriate for project management. Writing a book is another thing. It just requires
Sure.
craft. Does that make sense?
Okay, so maybe I'll pick up something more complicated and which is more multi-dimensional than something which I just do by myself. Fair enough. That's well advised.
Cool. Cool. So yeah, so my advice for doing things like those other kinds of projects, is really, I mean, it's a lot of people have written about how to do them. These are my suggestions. But I particularly like Big Magic by Liz Gilbert. This is basically how this is my ideal of how to operate in terms of as for instance, a writer or as a creator. And yeah, these other ones I've also gone through quickly, but these I haven't. They have a different style. Bruno, you have a question?
Yeah. Back to the question of Ashish, maybe the book, if you see it as something very linear, it's more a deep work project. But you can have projects which are made in small pieces because they are made at different places in the same time, or maybe they are not done in the order which will be the final order. What I mean, you can write a book by starting from the first chapter and moving on, or you can write a book by many places and assemble it at the end, in which case it becomes more a project management problem.
Yes, yes. Yeah, let me
Sure,
correct
absolutely.
myself as well. Because right now I'm actually using these tools not for the writing itself, but for the things I need to do the writing. For instance, organizing this event and all the other things that is surrounding it. And I'm using the tools. I mean, there's a page here wherein I actually wherein I plan out this this project of this this what I'm organizing for believers. So I am applying it here.
Oh.
This is not the
Could you
this, this is not the project. This is not the writing itself, but this is like this is what I will share in some of the chapters. Like for instance, for the project charter chapter, this is like I created this plan using the usual template I use. So this is the project management side of writing this book. It's not the sitting down and doing the writing. It's like gathering for instance, your feedback is very important for me to write this book. And then creating this weekly cadence of presenting to you a chapter, and then you using the chapter. That is something I had to manage amongst um, all my other what you call this projects. And that's also something I'll be discussing in the here, like how do you juggle all these projects in Rome? So I think Rome is the I think that's I mean that's the reason why I'm using Rome for project management, because like I could have all these projects simultaneously, and they're in one space, but I could design my working space for the day to be focused on only one or like specific tasks for those different projects. So that's I'm gonna discuss that, or gonna create the chapter here in this project-driven productivity. You could already see the Twitter threads here. That's basically what I'll be using for this chapter. Um, in chapter 3, it's essentially an overview of the tools that I'll be sharing. And this is what I mentioned earlier, that you could just focus on, this is my style. All the projects which require project management, I use the work breakdown structure, the risk breakdown structure, and the risk register. And then if it's a long-term project or it's a project with teammates, I use the project charter. And then depending on the kind of project, so it's different PM tools. If you've seen this particular project I'm doing right now, so I'm not using all the tools yet. This is still ongoing. For the RBS, I'm gonna make this when I talk to. There's a couple of people that we need to talk to, because like this is my first time to do this, and I wanna make the risk breakdown structure based on the experience of people who have done something similar. So the person doing the Rome Book Club, and also the person running the uh, this training called the uh, Goal Crafting Intensive. So I want to talk to them regarding that. Any questions regarding this third chapter? This is an overview, really, of the part of the book. So if not, the fourth chapter is essentially my explanation of um, what kind of project management work is best done with Rome. And yeah, it's really, there are some other tools I use for project management. So I use Rome mainly for these tools. Um, so the traditional tools of project management like Asana, Trello, Jira. So I use them mainly for collaboration work. But in terms of planning and in terms of my own productivity, my own work in these projects, use Rome. Um, yeah, essentially, and also when I, I need to make use of different, what you call this, documents to create or to think through the project. Like for instance, making use of my notes to create a risk breakdown structure, or a work breakdown structure. Um, so yeah, so there's some other kinds of PM work which I use. What you call this? I prefer to use the um, a spreadsheet like these ones: stakeholder analysis, communication plan, risk register. Mainly because I normally work with people who don't use Rome. So Rome is like a specialized language, and these ones, the common language is normally the spreadsheet. So that's what I normally use for these ones. Although, like for instance, for this project, they could just use Rome for this. Anyway, I'm not working with people who are not using Rome. And then, like budgets and what you call this, tracking costs. There are specialized software for that. Project communications and collaborating with people who don't use Rome. There are also some projects which are, there is software designed for specific kind of projects. Like for instance, construction. There are software specifically designed for those kinds of projects. And yeah, again, collaboration and task management are better done in these software which are designed for that. Yeah, that's basically it. Any questions regarding those first 3 chapters? Right.
I have one question. Imagine the people executing the project is a small group. Using Rome would be easier, to a larger extent. Which other parts would you add inside Rome if you had the opportunity to work with people who know how to use it?
Yeah, if everyone else knew how to use Rome, I would use Rome for everything, except maybe the things which you couldn't. It's difficult to handle in Rome. For instance, like the tracking costs, and also like the budgeting. That's basically it. But I actually haven't done that yet. Actually working with other people inside Rome for a project. So it's something I would need to test. But it's like I would do that if I had a chance, just to find out whether what are the limitations of this tool if everyone knew how to use Rome. Did that answer your questions, Bruno?
Yes.
There's a article, by the way, in Rome Brain about using Rome for a team, so that might be useful as well.
If you have the link, yes, it could be interesting.
I will send it to you. Maybe if you're already in Slack, I'll just tag you there.
I'm in the Slack now.
Cool. I'll send it later.
I can ask the question in Slack, and like this, you will not forget.
Cool. Good. It's like I'm not in my main Rome right now. I don't have my to-do list, so it would be great if you could post it there. Cool. All right. Any other questions before we end this? So if you guys have more questions, just post it in Slack and answer there, or I could create additional videos. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending this first Zoom call, and looking forward to the next ones. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.